Thought it was about the dogs. Nah, it's about power. Yeah. Put up to the specialty. Sunrise on the ground. Dogs in the grooming tents. Whispers all around. Catalog smiles with the tension in the air. Every handshake got a hidden little snare. Bored in the back room, running quiet little schemes. Bylaws in the pocket like a stack of poker dreams. Slayers for the breed, but they guarding their throne. If you question anything, they coming for your bone. Grievance in the envelope, certified mail. Club justice system, but the day.
Good evening and welcome back to Savita's Untethered Thoughts. So tonight we are going to do how to research dogs, how to look up pedigrees, and how to look for health testing and things like that. This is by request, so I wanted to get this done for the person who requested it. But first, I wanted to show everybody that Joe is going live tonight with this at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I wanted to show you all that. So when he goes live, we'll be off before then, so head over there and check this out. This is supposed to be really good. This is apparently one of Stratton's last people that he trained. So should be a really good one. So I wanted to kind of plug that because I think it'll be a good one. So I wanted to get into how to look up dogs and stuff like that. So depending on, hey, Bakari, how are you? So I wanted to get into how you can look up breeds and stuff. So if you are in any breed, they usually have like a database and stuff like that. So this would be the Cane Corso database. So if you are in Cane Corsos, you would just look up the Cane Corso pedigree database. And it is just canecorsopedigree.com. So you just Google search it, and then it would bring you to this screen. And then, so over here, let's see, enlarge it so you can see. And then what I do is I just go into like here, and you can pick whatever. So say we're looking up like Tony's dogs, right? Since he's the biggest breeder in, say, the United States, you can type in just his kennel name and then hit search. Now, you don't have to be a member of any of these databases. You don't have to be a member of the CCAA, nothing like that. And this is going to bring up every dog with the prefix or Scandifio in the registered name of that dog. So here, I'll have to back up just a little bit. So every dog that has been registered with Scandifio is going to have, so see how it's got Scandifio here, Scandifio. All these dogs have been registered with Scandifio in the pedigree. And so it's going to show you the whole list. So if you get a pedigree, or if Tony, say you went and bought from Tony, and Tony said, the dog in, so one of his most famous dogs would say be Scandifio's Armani, right? So you would click on Scandifio's Armani. It is going to bring you up, and it shows you up here at the top, number of generations to view. Now you can drop this down And oh, you can't see it. For whatever reason, it's not showing it. So, but it has all the way up to a 10 generation pedigree. So you can just do a 4 or you can do a 10 generation pedigree. And it is going to bring up a 4 generation to 10 generation pedigree and show you everything. But we'll just stick with this one right now, which is a 4 generation pedigree, just so it makes it easier to have it on screen to show you. And so this is Scandifio's Armani, which is one of his famous dogs. He has several, but it's going to give you the sire and dam, which the sire is Nugget, which we all know, if you're in Corsos. Now, of course, this is in Corsos, and I'm just using Corsos as a reference point right now. And then Scandifio's Cali. Okay, so that is the sire and dam. So mother and father, which we call sire and dam, to Armani. And it gives you their ICCF number. So then you could also go to ICCF, or you could contact Chrissy Hodis. I don't know if she has a website that you could look at. I just use the database because it makes it so much easier. There's so many dogs. And it just makes it easier because the ICCF was imported into the Corso database. So it's pretty much all the information's in there. But then if you want to know who Nugget's sire and dam are, it shows you. And then, of course, so this gives you the generations of who they are, what colors they are, and all that stuff. Now, if you want to look at, say, Nugget, right, then you would just click on Nugget. And then it's going to bring you up a further pedigree and show you back further as you were looking at Nugget. And it gives you those sire and dams. It's just showing you that pedigree. You can literally build your own virtual pedigree if you really want to dig. And this is how I dig for information, right? And but if I wanted to go even further, click on Nugget again, and it's going to bring you up that he's a male. Now, they changed it beginning of the year to where it doesn't, you have to actually make a login information to tell you who the owner is and who the breeder is for whatever reason. They say it's for purposes of they're not allowed to put who the breeder and owner is, but for legal reasons. But it's free to make a thing. I just choose not to because I know who the breeder and owner are. But you can, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it. But it shows you the father and the mother. And then it gives you that there's the dog's parental DNA has not been confirmed. So there's no DNA on file. But then it gives you what color, but that none of this health testing has ever been added. Now, if Tony would submit health testing to the database, that health testing information would be added. Now, I'm sure if you called Tony and asked him, hey, was there any information and could you provide it, then you would get him to either say yes or no or whatever. But underneath that, this also gives you the coefficient. So inbreeding, that's what it is, the coefficient percentage, so that you know. And then it also gives you all the dogs that this dog produced. So it's get, or children. We call it get as breeders, but in here it's calling it children. And so these are all the children it produced. And no brothers and sisters are listed. So this is how you get information on one specific dog, or you can get the whole pedigree and actually build yourself a virtual pedigree if you wanted to. Now you can put this on like a PDF, or you can, I do it in Excel and build myself a pedigree. And then what I do is I take all these pictures, because if it shows that there's a camera, there's a picture of the dog. And so you can add a picture of, say, like Elcor. So here's a picture of Elcor, which is Derek Mattson. Even though it doesn't say Derek Mattson, we all know that Elcor's kennel is Derek Mattson. So, and if you're not sure, you can actually take Elcor and Google Elcor, and Elcor's kennel will pop up, and you know it's Derek Mattson. Belmonte was Ed Hodis. So we know that Ed Hodis, and you can Google that, and all of Ed Hodis's information will come up, which is Chrissy Hodis is who owns ICCF database with all the pedigrees in it. So you could contact her and get the information. And here's the ICCF number. If you gave that to her, she would probably give you a little bit more information. May take her a little while. But again, here's the health information. It gives you the color. There's no health information added because there was probably no health information given on these dogs in the database. But here's all the get that was produced by this dog. And then here is a brother or sister, which it shows it's a sister because it's the symbol of it. And then you can go to that and show. But what I do is I take the pictures and then I add the pictures to a virtual pedigree, and it shows you literally what is dominant and what's not dominant within these traits, right? So if we, again, go back, you can look at what you're seeing in these dogs. I mean, like if you look at Zale, he looks more like a Neo. You know, you have these things. Belmonte Gold's a very famous dog in almost every American line. It'll go back. You'll see it if you keep looking at all of these pedigrees. You'll see Belmonte's Gold in almost everything. Ed Hodis actually talks about it in a lot of his a lot of interviews that he does. So if you read any of the interviews that he does with Molosser magazine and stuff like that, he talks about Belmonte Gold a lot. So, but you can look and see the colors and stuff like that. And you can see that a lot of them don't have health testing information added. But you can go through and look at all the dogs. I'm just using Tony because he has a very prolific line of dogs because he is one of the biggest breeders in the United States. So it's easy to use him. So, but we can go to like this dog and you can look at all the ribbons, all the titles. So here's all the titles after the dog's name. So all the these are all working titles that the dog's gotten. So if we look at like all these are all working titles that the dog actually achieved. And there's proof of those working titles that was given to the database. So, and then there's pen hip. So this dog actually has health titles. So now we're looking at, see how this DSRA clear, DVL2 was not done, but the dog was born in 2017, Brindle, pen hip was done, OFA normal echo, and then you have your pen hip results in NCL clear, DCM clear, CMR1 clear. So you see there's health testing information that was actually given with proof of those things being clear. So now if it's OFA, how you have OFA normal heart. So now what you can do is take this name and copy it. And now we can go to the OFA website. And this is the OFA website. And at the very top up here, you can type in the name and hit search. And there's the dog. So now we're proving that the dog actually had those things done. And this is how, share. So this dog's actually coming up. The information's actually coming up. So now we verified that information is actually true. You see what I'm saying? So there's no falseness to the information that was added to the database. And if this dog was bred and that breeder gave you that information, you absolutely know it's true and that the information was not falsified or photoshopped or anything like that, because you actually have the information in OFA database, and OFA will not falsify the report. So you have all the information readily available to actually search and find out. And all you have to do is Google OFA .org. So it's OFA.org, and then you just type in the information and it's readily available. And this is how you just verify the information, so that if the people are like, hey, this is the dog's information and you got a photocopy, you don't actually have to take the breeder's word for it. You can look it up and verify the information and know that that's actually the truth. And it's that easy versus just getting the information. Now, PenHip doesn't have a database yet. So as we're looking on the database and we're looking at this dog, it does say PenHip results were in. But the great thing about it is this person actually did PenHip and then forwarded it on to OFA to have proof of it, because PenHip doesn't have a database that you can search. Although they do have, you can have the puppy done early, as early as 16 weeks of age. But you really want to do them at 2 years. And the reason that you want to do them at 2 years is because the platelets close. And so the dog's fully grown, what you're getting is what you're getting. And so because environmental issues can play a factor and all kinds of stuff, OFA you're going against a 3-panel, they're making a decision. It's 3 orthopedic vets looking at your dog's x-rays and all this stuff. Where PenHip does it a little different, they're looking, and deciding based off elasticity and different things like that. So there's a whole different setup that they do, but they can do it starting at 16 weeks of age. Well, so many things can play a different factor. You have environmental issues, you have food, nutrition, all kinds of things that can change your dog from 16 weeks to 2 years, where OFA does it at 2 years when the platelets close and your dog is what your dog is. And also you have 3 orthopedic vets looking at your dog, and it's an opinion, which it's an opinion. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other. But I definitely, a lot of people don't like, PenHip, because of the fact that they feel that doing a prelim isn't the final stage, but people like to do prelims and then they'll pass it off as the end stage. And it's not. 2 years is when your platelets close. And they should always be done at 2 years, because at 2 years is what your dog is. but then people don't like OFA because it is an opinion. It's a three-person panel, and it's it's kind of like, well, it's an opinion. It'd be like me giving you opinion. Well, I'm looking at it going, yeah, and it's it's best out of two, or the best out of three. So it's not it's not like they all have to be unanimous. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, I guess. But and sometimes when you will pass on pen hip, you'll fail on OFA. And sometimes when you fail, or when you pass on OFA and have excellent hips, pen hip will say, no, it's probably not a good thing. So because they give you a range. So I guess it's how you want to take it, but also pen hip can be falsified. It can be falsified as to look at, these were at 16 weeks and they were great, and then people pass them off as being the final stage, and they're not. They're prelims, and prelims are not the final stage. So you kind of have to pick and choose, but you can get them done and then give them to OFA and put them up on a site to where they can be verified as that's what they actually are. So it's all in what you want to believe and what you want to trust. You actually have to trust your breeder as doing it. So I guess it's how much you put faith in your breeder. But you can see here that these were actually done. They did it in pen hip, and then they turned around and did it in OFA. So that's a good thing. And it's great that they did it that way. So so that's how I check. That's how I make sure that everything is on the up and up, and that your breeder's actually telling you the truth. It's very easy. It's very it's just keeping everything true and to the point, because nowadays it seems like everybody wants to kind of fluff the information a little bit. You can do it with pretty much any breed. If you go to the DPCA actually has a database as well. If you go down here, and I think that most breeds have it. It's just like this. Oops. So you go in as visitor. You can be, if you are a DPCA member, you go in as DPCA member. You go here, it's the same thing. You can look by registered name. You can look by owner's last name, breeder, or by kennel. You can just type in anything. So if you go, say, B and hit search, it gives you all the names. So if you look up that, it gives you the same thing. So B&B's Big Bad Wolf. It'll give you the alias, the call name, the registration name, the sex, blah, 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 all that stuff, and a 4-generation pedigree. So the 4-generation pedigree looks just like this. It also gives you more of a generation pedigree as well. And it gives you all the dogs. So now they do allow, so there are 16 dogs represented in a 4-generation pedigree. 3 are DPCA longevity certified, representing 18.8% of the pedigree. So this dog's pedigree actually got longevity certificates, which is really good for Dobermans. You really want, in Dobermans, you want to see longevity certificates. So stop sharing this page. Go back to this. Share screen. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to close out of that. Is that the one? Nope. This is the one. Okay. So in this one, they actually allow photo. This dog doesn't have a photo. But you can do no photo. Let's go back. Jeez. But they do information as well, cardio, all that stuff. Who the breeder is, email, the state that they live in, all the same stuff. And most breeds will have this where you can look up any of this information. Oh, there's a photo on this dog. So, oh, this is a really old dog. Date of birth, 1966. I was like, this is a really old dog because you can tell how the difference in look. But so it allows you to have a photo of the dog. So it gives you an idea of what the dog looks like. And then the pedigree. Yeah, this one got, oh wow, this one got longevities too. It's got 13 years and stuff like that in it too. 12 years. 10 years. 12 years. So, sorry, I wasn't sharing that. So, yeah, it tells you dates and stuff like that. So it gives you an idea that BJ's gift of joy. How cute. Okay, so let's go back and go back again. Oh, okay. So let's get out of there. Let's go to let's go to Doe Quest and enter. There we go. And then go to visitor, go to panel, go to Briarwood. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. Let's just go. Okay, let's go back this way. Sorry. Oh, Jesus. Mm. Am I sharing that? Okay, good. Aftershock. That was a good dog. So this is Aftershock. So this gives you more information. So this is Briarwood's Aftershock, Cade. So his name was Cade. He was a champion. This is his number. He was in the stud book in 2002. He was born in 2000, a male, black. He was a number 2 black, which means he could produce blacks and reds. So this gives you a little bit more information about him. He had 42 teeth, so he had proper dentation. Here's his sire and dam. Here's all his prodigy. And then this is his brother. I didn't know this pedigree so well. But anyway, here's his picture. So he was very famous. So we can drop down and do a 5-generation pedigree. And then on this pedigree, because he was such a famous dog, this gives you a little bit more information about the dogs, right? So I actually bred into this dog, and this gives you a little bit more information. My lines actually lived consistently 12 to 14 years, and this is why. If you look at these, 11 years, 11 months, 10 years, 6 months, 13 years, 13 years, 4 months, 8 years, 5 months, 13 years, 10 years, 6 months. What I bred for was longevity. What I was bringing into my lines was longevity. 10 years, 7 years, 14 years, 7 months. What I was bringing in from breeding into him was all these 11 years, 11 years, 13 years, 13 years, 11 years, 11 years, 10 years, 11 years. So what you're breeding in is all these 11 years, 9 years, 11 years. So what you're trying to do is breed as much longevity into these lines as possible. And then, he lived, storms of Bruin, lived about 12 years. I actually bred into this dog too. Uh, Such a great dog. He produced so many great dogs. But anyway, this gives you an idea of actually how to do all this stuff. Yeah, Volt was such a great dog. Aftershock was another great dog. Oh, and I already did that one. I did Aftershock already. That's probably why. Mm. Anyway, so it gives you an idea of close that out. So it gives you an idea of how to look all this up. And like I said, most pages, if you go to their, okay, why can't I show that one? If you go to their club page, will show you, like, we'll have that thing on there. Like I said, on the Doberman page, and I think that the CCAA has it too. Their database. So this is the CCA website, and I think that they have Well, they should. Store, bylaws, and membership. Okay. Well, they should have it on their website for people to go to, but it is just called, I mean, anytime you Google bylaws, if you Google the CCA bylaws, the okay, well, what does this do? CCAA. Oops. Oh. It's just Cane Corso or Cane Corso pedigree database. So that's all it is. And then you just click on it. But you don't have to be share. Why doesn't it just? It should just flip. It's just stupid. It should just share. Just should follow me. But anyway, and then you could just search. Has all these other things that you can add. And do a virtual mating and all this stuff. But I just like to look up the dogs and titles and all that stuff. There is something that I wanted to show too, for people that didn't understand how shows went. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to remove that. Remove it. And then, because I had somebody asking me, this one, how shows actually worked. Also, so here's how a dog show breakdown is. So if you were getting into actual AKC shows, UKC shows, stuff like that. So these are your classes. So this is puppy, and this 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and 12 to 18. So these are months, 6 to 9 months, 9 to 12, 12 to 18. So then you have novice, then you have amateur, owner handler. So amateur and owner handler, can you see that? You probably can't. Wait. Okay. Am I doing this right? Okay. So puppy 6 to 9, 9 to 12. There are months. And then you have dog. And so dog is male, dog. And then your bitch class. So these are different classes that they go in. And they go in separate. So it's dog against dog, bitch against bitch. And dogs go in first, then bitches go in. Which is why I named one of my dogs. Bet you didn't see this coming, biatches. Because they go in first. Which I thought was hilarious. Anyway, then you have novice. Then you have amateur, owner, handler. And that means that no professional handlers can go in there. Then you have bred by exhibitor. And that dog literally has to be bred by you. And Sorry. Has to be bred by you or co-bred by you. So you can have a co-breeder. But it has to have your name as the breeder on the papers. And then you have American bred. So obviously born here, bred here in America. And then open. And anything in open, I remember correctly, anything in open is 12 months and older. Don't quote me on that. It's been a long time since I've been at a show. I will look. Give me a second. I don't want to get that wrong. Because I remember putting my bitch in open because she was too big to go into. 15 months and older. Sorry. Okay. And I knew that they had to be older than 12 months, but I couldn't remember. And it's 15 months. Most dogs have reached physical maturity for conformation judging, though some handlers may still enter dogs in 12 to 15. 12 to 18. Okay. Yearling class, open class, range. Okay, so handlers may still enter dogs into 12 to 8 if fully developed. If okay, still 12 to 15-month range if they are fully developed. If a judge thinks your dog looks younger than expected for open class, they may ask for proof of age and the dog can still be judged in that class. Okay, so 15 months or older. At least 15 months to enter open class. Yeah. See, my one bitch was too big. Okay. So anyway, back to this. So this is how it goes. So then every first place puppy, and the reason it keeps saying first down the line, so you can have a whole lineup, or you can just be the only dog. Like if you're in puppy 6 to 9, 9 to 12, if you're the only puppy in there, you get the ribbon, you get a blue ribbon, you automatically get a blue ribbon. It used to be back in the day that you only get one, that even if your dog didn't meet the standard, your judge would still withhold the ribbon. Nowadays, every judge will just give you the ribbon. You automatically win. You get first place because you're the only dog there. It's almost like it's just a guarantee. So each of those dogs will go on. So your dog class, each one of these puppies or each one of these sections will go on for winner's dog. So this dog will compete with this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog for winner's dog. And then also reserve winner's dog. So 2 dogs will win. The runner up to winner's dog and winner's dog on this side. Same with this side. Each winning bitch from each category will go up and win, and the runner up to that, which is reserve. Then these dogs will go and compete for best of breed and best of variety competition. And then you'll get best of breed or best of variety, best of winners, best of opposite sex. So best of opposite sex will win to best of breed or best of variety. So if a dog wins, best of opposite obviously will be a bitch. And then then select dog, select bitch. So that's how that works at a dog show. That's why there's so many. That's why it takes so long to get through a breed, because each one of those classes have to then go up against each one of the classes. And then bitches go up against the same. So that's how that works. And then here's all your, and then they go on to compete against, each of the winners go on to compete against each of these winners. And then you get best in show and then reserve best in show. And so that's how all that works. I hope I explained that well. But this gives you an idea of how that all works. And then depending on how many dogs, and also your region, depends on how many points or majors you get, or a major that you get, depending on the region and how many dogs were in the ring at the time, which is a whole nother category. And you need 15 points and 2 majors for your dog to become a champion, then a grand champion. Then you can do silver, bronze, and gold, and all kinds of stuff. So it can cost some money to show a dog. But I hope that explains some stuff. So anyway, I don't know if there is more. I know that PennHip is doing, it was said that they were going to do a database. It's been in the works. I know that it was said like back in 2012, according to a form that I seen. This form here. And this is a golden retriever form. This lady's talking about it here, where she said that one of their biggest issues with PennHip is years ago, there was conversation around PennHip having a verification database. That unfortunately hasn't happened, and it looks like it's not a priority for them. Also, they don't, I don't think they'll release the information to you, even if you have the certificate information, because you're not the owner of the dog. It's kind of like their HIPAA laws or whatever. And a lot of people that are very stickler on the PennHip stuff, it's $35 to send your information and have it put on OFA. So a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just put it on OFA? So the fact that you won't kind of makes people go, well, why won't you? If you did the test, because the tests are expensive. They're like $400, $500, $600, sometimes up to $1,000, depending on what, again, your region is, to have these hip scores and elbows and stuff done. So if you're not willing to pay the extra money to have it added, it's kind of like, well, why not? So, and also if you're only doing prelims versus the actual 2-year mark, I don't know. I would question that, because platelets don't close until your dog's 2 or close to 2. So if you're doing them at 16 weeks, which I find that very odd that you're doing them at 16 weeks. So, because so much can change between 16 weeks and 2 years. I mean, I can understand doing them maybe at, 12 months, 14 months, but even at that, just to get an idea, but to not do them at 2 when the platelets are closed, I mean, unless you're breeding early just to breed. So I would just do them at 2 years and see what they are, you know? But anyway, so PenHip doesn't have a thing where you can verify the information, but the breeder can submit them to OFA. So that's what I would go with. And like I said, it's easy enough to check them. This person absolutely, like I said, the information was put on here on the database. We verified it. We know that it's true. And that's what you got to do. Like I said, it's $35 to add it. You know, the information's here. It's verified right here. We know it's true. It's that simple. So if somebody gives you a pedigree and you know this iron dam, it's that easy to look it up. And if they won't tell you the information, if they don't give you this iron dam's information, I would question that. Would definitely question that. So, I mean, you should be able to look it up pretty easy. But you should at least get a 3-generation pedigree. And if the iron dam ain't added to the pedigree, well, as you can see very clearly by even just doing this, if the iron dam aren't, grandparents would be. And then you can at least look back through the pedigree and check and see, you know, you can look through, like even look at Juno, you know, and see what Juno's information is, you know, and get an idea of what health testing you may be looking at, having to get, like what, just looking at structure, what you'd be looking at, you know, are you looking at, here's some stifle, there's a little bit lacking in stifle, you know, when you're looking at different things, what are you looking at? If you're becoming a breeder, what are you looking for? What are the dominant traits? What are the recessive traits that might pop up if you can see them back far enough? And start just Googling these names. You know, if you Google these names, especially with Instagram and Facebook pages and stuff like that, and people posting all kinds of stuff, it's easy enough to find information, pictures, old pictures that people put. You just keep scrolling through their feeds and you'll see them, oh, memories, you know, back in the day, this is what I started with, this is whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you can find a lot of these dogs and their information and stuff like that and pictures. And then you can start making a virtual pedigree and you can see where traits come from. You know, if you got a really good headpiece. I know that Custodian Oates, look at Custodian Oates is from overseas. Look at his dogs. He's got a very dominant headpiece. If nothing else, he has a very dominant headpiece. All of his dogs, look at all of his pictures. And his pictures, all his dogs have that very dominant, beautiful headpiece, but it's dominant. So if you have, say you need to bring in, you've got nice structure, great front rank angulation and stuff like that, but your headpieces are just a little off and you need to add some underjaw, you need to add some cheek, you need to, you know, you got a bad ear set, you know, you don't have, you know, you maybe got a conical muzzle, you know, or, you know, your head planes just don't sit right, whatever. Maybe Custodian Oates is where you need to go with something that is such a dominant through his whole kennel. You know, a lot of his puppies he puts up, a lot of his dogs he puts up, but that's not just one piece that you're looking at. You also have to look at health. You have to look at other things. If you're bringing in one of his dogs, what else? What complements your bitch also just besides that headpiece? But it is something to look at. And it's something you can look at through all the pictures that he posts. and looking through the database. So that's just how I look at things. That's how I search things. That's how I go through and research breeders and information and stuff like that. So I hope that helps. I hope that's what you were looking for. If there's more, or you have more questions, or you need something else explained, let me know. I'll do my best to kind of further what you were looking for. But that's what I got for right now. Like I said, again, I know that Joe is going to go live here in a little bit. And I think that's definitely a live podcast that you guys should check out. But if there's more that I can help you with, any more, if there's health testing that you want researched, if there's more looking for pedigree wise, or what to look out for, how to throw one together, whatever, just leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and I will do what I can to help you. You are very welcome. And if there's anything else that I can add to it, I do a lot of research. It takes me a long time. It takes me about 6 to 8 months to literally throw a pedigree together, do all the research that I do, because I do a lot of deep dive search. This was kind of just an hour of getting it together, just throwing it together so that you can kind of see what I do. But like I said, I really add a lot to it. I really pick out all the dogs, put them on a spreadsheet, and see what I'm getting. Look for the health test. I look for all these people, Google the names, see what I can find, looking at everything, and then, adding it together, see what I'm looking at. But if there's more that I can do, more than I can show you, let me know, and I will see what I can add to it to help you out. But I hope you have a good night. I hope that I was able to help some, and head over to Joe's and see what that live stream is going to be about. So, and I appreciate you joining me. So until next time.
Man, club just a system, but the deck's set to fail. You speak for transparency, they call it a crime. Next day, you suspended for 6 months of your time. Pedigree, politics, trophies on the wall. Vanity awards while the ethics take a fall. They say it's for the free, but we know what it is. Power in the clubhouse, silence in the pit. Pedigree, politics, ribbons and lies. Smiles at the banquet, but the truth in disguise. You can muzzle the voice, but the truth don't quit. Dog show, kingdom built on counterfeit grit.